Now, tonight, as Joe Biden and the Democrats try and force this country down this path to radical socialism, Americans, they are now letting it be known that they do not approve. Our latest Fox News poll, just out tonight, showing Biden with just a 44% approval rating. By the way, another poll came out with him only at 36%. We have a majority of Americans disapproving of the job that he's doing. An earlier poll from Quinnipiac, as I just mentioned, had him at 36%, and only a measly 24% of voters in this country say they want Joe Biden to run for another term. In the Fox poll, Biden is underwater in every major issue facing this country. A full majority of voters disapprove of his handling of the economy, immigration, the threat from China, the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I would add energy to that list if that was polled. And get this, it's even worse for Vice President Harris. She has a 40% approval rating, but of course last week it was a whopping low 28%. It's so bad, she is now being openly asked if she feels useful around the White House anymore. Listen to this.
We're getting things done, and we're doing it together.
So you don't feel misused or underused?
No, I don't. I am very, very excited about the work that we have accomplished.
What work? The borders are a disgrace. Afghanistan was a disaster. Inflation is out of control, a 31-year high. Oh, and we're paying $1.50 more per gallon for gasoline, and we're paying more for everything we buy in every store we go to. And to make matters worse, we just learned today Harris, communications director, will be leaving her job next month. Maybe she was the one responsible, I guess, for hiring those child actors, because that turned out to be a disaster also. I guess the vice president is just too hard to defend. Here with reaction, not one, but two former White House chiefs of staff to President Donald Trump, Mark Meadows, Reince Priebus. Reince, you were first. We'll give you first crack at it. But I can't think of a single successful issue for them. This bill is not accepted by the American people. If they force it through the Senate, I don't see Manchin and Sinema going along in the Senate. They pass it through in the House.
Well, first, it's insane. First of all, they jammed these two bills in. They had no mandate to do it. They showed that there was complete division within the party. Biden had no power over his own party. The second thing was, as Kevin McCarthy was pointing out, they were warned about this inflation issue. They were warned by people like Democrats, Larry Summers and other Obama people, Jason Furman, Stephen Ratner. And the reality is, as you pointed out, unemployment's a bad deal, but inflation affects 100% of us. And we know that people across the country are feeling this everywhere. Gas is more expensive. Thanksgiving dinner is going to be more expensive next week. The grocery store shelves are empty, or at least some of them are, if you can find the actual ingredients, by the way. Restaurants have limited hours. It's taking months for people to get their cars fixed. So look, unfortunately, it's sort of a sinking ship, but we're all on this ship together. So now we have to figure out how to get our country back on track.
There's an answer. They can go back to Trump's policies on the economy, Trump's policies on energy independence, Donald Trump's policies on the border, and I don't think Donald Trump would have abandoned Americans in Afghanistan.
Democrats that do that.
So there's an answer. Mark Meadows, Nancy Pelosi is notorious for not having a vote if she doesn't have the vote, so I would assume she's confident she thinks she will get this bill passed in the House, but it's pretty meaningless because I think Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are going to put their signatures and their fingerprints all over the bill in the Senate, and it's going to be a very different bill, if one at all.
Yeah, they'll have the votes tonight. They wouldn't have brought it this far. And the moderates, they were already falling all over themselves when they got the CBO score that actually, you're right, adds to the deficit. But it's even worse than that. Some of the math that they have, they're actually giving credit for policies that they're reversing that actually haven't been even put into place yet. So it could be another $200 to $300 billion worse than the CBO score. But here's the answer. Joe Biden thinks the answer to everything is to hire more IRS agents. When we look at it, only 16%, if you drill down on those polls, only 16% of Americans think that their future is going to be better off under a Joe Biden presidency. But what we get, what we expect. He was in Congress for 40 years. He has the approval now that's closer to a congressional representative than the president of the United States.
By the way, that means that the rest of the country is going to get what I call the Hannity treatment, which is we see Hannity's name, we pull his file every single year, and that's going to be the reality for the rest of America, and it's not that pleasant, which is why I have not one accounting firm, but two accounting firms. All right. So the only thing is Joe Biden now is beholden to this radical element in his party. Mark Meadows will give you first crack on this one. Okay.
Well,
I don't see them bringing back any of the Trump policies, which would solve all of their problems. That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, it's not going to happen. In the four areas that Joe Biden actually are polling the worst in were the ones that actually Donald Trump fixed and had a plan for. So all that Joe Biden has to do is run back and actually do what Donald Trump did for 4 years. But here's the other thing is Joe Biden's used to signing the back of a paycheck, not the front of a paycheck. So he doesn't even understand what it takes because he's used to a government paycheck for 40 years. And the average American, Reince is exactly right. They're paying more at the grocery store, at the gas pumps, and candidly, that will come back to haunt them in 2022 and 2024.
I look at the radicalization, Reince, of the Democratic Party. I look at this push for New Green Deal socialism. I see it's almost become a New Green Deal socialist cult. And Joe Biden bows at the altar of climate change and environmental radicalism. If they're not willing to change and they're going to continue just to beg OPEC for oil and then excoriate and scold American energy companies, how does that solve the biggest problem they have with inflation, the economy, and that's the high cost of energy, because their policies artificially reduce the supply as demand has remained constant. I don't see them solving that problem by yelling at gas company and energy company executives.
Well, it's a good question, and I think it goes back to what we've talked about on this show a few times, which is this is intentional conduct by the Democrats.'re not completely stupid. They actually believe in this stuff. It's stupid ideas, but they believe in these things.
I beg to differ a little. But
no, I'm saying what
just kidding.
They are getting. Hear me out. They are getting what they want. These open borders is what they want. The gas prices going up is what they want. They don't want us in the cars. They want everyone to come here without regard to the law. And it makes you wonder, okay, so they see the polling. They know what they're heading into in 2022. Anyone can look at this, right? But so why do they do it? They do it because they know what they're facing, and they want all their goodies and everything that they've ever dreamed of, and they're going to get it all now. They've got complete power, and they're going to keep grabbing. So
let me interpret that.
They don't care.
So you're basically saying their policy is to the American people, we see that you don't want this, drop dead. We want it. We don't care what you want. Okay. Mark Meadows, by the way.
They don't care. They know what's better for us.
Mark's book is coming out in December. It's called The Chief's Chief. It's on Amazon.com if you want a first edition copy. Okay. So if you directly go against the will of the American people, how's that going to work out for the Democratic Party? Because it sounds to me like they're going to get their asses kicked in 2022. Mark Meadows.
Well, they are, but here's the dangerous thing. In the vote tonight, they will pass it along partisan lines. It'll ping pong back because you'll have some Democrat senators. You've mentioned obviously two of them, but there may be more that will actually ping pong it back. But once they've gotten the yes vote, they are not going to walk the plank without getting all of this radical left-wing policy, socialist, communist policy in place. And what they believe is it's worth it. If we can get it there, it'll be there forever. And the American people will have to fund it. And the American taxpayer will be owned by the government instead of having the liberties and freedoms that we've enjoyed.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch because you're basically admitting that they're going to commit political suicide. We'll be watching the vote tonight, and we'll see what Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema have to say. By the way, Reince, you could have written the Chief's chief. You were a chief before Mark was chief, and Mark beat you to it. So I don't know what that means, but I'll let you guys fight it out and figure it out. Mark's book is.
I'm waiting for my day to write my big book. It's going to be a good one.
Just don't mention my name. I'm mentioning every other
No,
liberal book. Anyway, guys, good to see you both.
I have a chapter on Mark Meadows.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to read it.